Hello, whiskey hunters. Welcome to Whiskey Whistle. I'm your host, Mark, and this is whiskey review number 112. Actually, it'll be a two-part review, 112 and 113, and you can see what I've got in front of me here. This is Glenfiddich. It is their Cask collection, and we'll be reviewing the Select Cask. That'll be first, and then following that will be the Reserve Cask. And I think I'm going to release these both on the same day. Okay, so you'll have a double duty of watching my reviews, okay? Now, this is not the first Glenfiddich that I've reviewed here on the channel. In fact, I believe it's number 3 and then number 4. Actually, no, number 4 and number 5. I have so far reviewed the 15-year-old distillery edition. That was one of the first reviews that I did way back when, about a year ago. Then was the 15-year-old, the regular version, the Solera Cask. And then the 12-year-old was next, and this will be numbers 4 and 5. Anyway, so since we've already done the reviews, we'll get right into the nosing and the tasting and all of that. I will tell you a little bit about these bottles because they're a little bit unique. First of all, they are travel retail only, duty-free only, and both of them spend a certain period of time of marrying, or it's kind of like the blending. The blending process happens in the Solera vats. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Let me read it to you so that I can tell you more about that, okay? So here is the Glenfiddich Cask Collection Single Malt Scotch Whisky, Select Cask. And let's see. Okay. Cask Collection. Our Cask Collection celebrates Glenfiddich's unique Solera marrying process. The magic happens when our handcrafted Solera vat marries Glenfiddich whiskies matured in 3 types of oak cask to ensure continuity of flavor. Okay, and here we are. Our malt master has hand-selected aged bourbon, European oak, and red wine casks of mature single malts for their individual flavor and characteristics, which are then married together. Now, that's not to say that I think this is not a Solera vatting. Okay, so I believe what's happening is it's being married in the Solera vat. Solera vat's like a really big, huge oak, massive open container. Okay, at least as far as I know. I believe they have only one Solera vat. Okay, so I believe there is going to be, they're using that somehow. If this were a Solera vatting, then it would say so on here. Okay, so married in our unique Solera vat. Well, it may be. If you do know, please let me know if this is actually the Solera vatting or whether it's simply married in the Solera vat and then evacuated before doing the next one. Likewise, I'm not sure if this is a continuously available product or if it is simply a temporary one. Now, I'm sure you can notice these are smaller bottles. They're 20 centiliter bottles, 200 milliliters. I bought them at duty free, and they were on for quite a good price. And when I read about them, I thought, well, I think that's worth looking into. Okay, so let's get the first one poured. Okay, so that was bourbon, and it said aged bourbon, so we can assume that's probably 2 years or more. European oak. Okay, so that may be some sort of sherry wood, or it may, anyway, who knows? And the other one was the red wine cask. So let's see what happens with that. Ooh, that was a little too much. There we go. All right, and as is customary here on my channel, we'll have some short advertisements, the first of which will come right here. Welcome back. Don't forget, you can always skip the advertisements. If you do choose to watch them, hopefully some of that revenue will eventually lead me to doing some more cool things here on this channel. Cooler things, I should say. Probably would want to let this breathe a little bit for, let's say, 5-10 minutes thereabouts. I'm not going to sit here and do that to you, make you stare at my less than handsome face while you're waiting for me to get on with it. So you may notice, though, I did have a bit of a haircut. Let me know what you think of it. Okay, now let's get on to the nosing. Now, the first time I smelled this, I thought to myself, this is not the Glenfiddich that I know. So it smells rather unlike Glenfiddich 12-year-old or any other Glenfiddich, to be honest, at least in terms of the flavors that I'm smelling. I can recognize a little bit of the house characteristics. And I always think of a bit of leather when I think of the Glenfiddich house style. And I get a touch of that here. But far more spice is going on here than in the standard 12-year-old. And this is likely, let's say, between 8 and 12 years old, I would imagine. Kind of stumbled through that one. Okay. How about the facts here? Well, it's 40% ABV. And directly on the container, we can see mit Farbstoff, Zuckercolor. Okay, so Farbstoff is a word that basically means caramel color. So there's a little bit of color added here. Now, to be quite honest, not very much. Okay. If you look at the paler versions, let's say comparing this to another Glen something natural version, which was done recently on my channel, quite a bit paler, but you know, there's a lot of whiskeys that use a lot more caramel coloring than this, so let's not fault it. It is 40% ABV. Be nice if it were higher. Okay, but this is an entry-level product. Very reasonable price. I believe it's something like $45 at duty free for the full bottle. Okay. Anyway. So what else here with the nose? I wrote here, there's a brightness that I've not encountered with Glenfiddich until now. And I believe that brightness is coming from these bourbon casks. And also possibly some of this European oak. Okay. So what do I write here? In my notes here, I'm writing a tart sweetness is on the nose. There's grape and crabapple fruit scents coming through. Bourbon spices, so some cinnamon, vanilla, a lot of citrus, and I write here citric acid. Okay, so again, that's giving it this very fresh smell. Young, fresh red wine, almost white wine-esque. Okay, like an oak-aged white wine or an unoaked, very young red wine. Fresh tea bags, so not yet used. Perhaps something like an English breakfast. And there's a mild little bit of touch of peatiness there. Okay, but it's most people would not recognize that as having any amount of peat, but it's certainly there to a small degree. Anything else here I want to talk about? There's nothing amiss with the nose here. And it does smell a lot more potent than it should for 40%. So you can kind of guess there's a bit of youngness to this. Okay, on with the taste. Cheers all. let me go in for another one. I want to make sure that I want to present you with the notes that you get once you're sort of familiar with the flavor, the alcohol, and so on. So, smack my lips a little bit, and let's go back in there. There's a real wine characteristic to this. Quite an amount of sweetness as well, likely from these bourbon casks. I wrote here wine sangria. Okay, so imagine a summer sangria with strawberries, ice, put in the carafe. It's very light, very citrusy. Seems lighter than the typical Glenfiddich. Citric acid, young, no, that was the, okay, taste, ha ha ha. I was reading the nosing notes again. I wrote here lemon meringue, so very lemony. Soft sweetness, a little bit of cream, a little bit of strawberry, so this sangria is really coming through here. Touch of tartness, some astringency, a little bit of dryness. Now, this is really soft. If I were to try this blind, I would think that that it had already had water added to it, or that somebody was presenting me with something at 35% ish. Okay, going to be very, very soft. Is it too soft, I wonder? It may have done better with 43, even 42. Okay, it seems like there's this, it's like if you're not going to do 43, then you may as well just leave it at 40. You know, whatever. Why not put it out at 41, 42? At least that way you're going to get a little bit more oomph coming through in the taste. And yes, you would notice it. People would be scratching their heads, what's with 41? But certainly that would be enough to add a little bit of kick to it. Okay. Finish. Something apricot, peachy going on here in the finish. Very malty, very sweet, not very long. I wrote a medium length, apricot, peach, and peach pit, vanilla. Something like spent coffee grounds. Anyway, interesting. Very nice stone fruit, the apricot peachy flavor. Quite nice. Okay, time to add a bit of water. Not very much. I'm going to add in probably about a milliliter. Okay, so probably two, well, looks like more than, anyway, about a milliliter of water added there. Maybe 1.5. Not very much. You don't need much. It's already soft. But why? So why put water in? Just to see what happens. Just to see if you get any more scents, any more flavors that might come through with water added as opposed to neat. Okay. Let's get that all mixed up. I should say that I reconnected with Joe. Joe, the former let's say, head taster at Whiskey Wednesday. He has since, maybe let's call it semi-retired due to work complications. Anyway, we had a very nice chat with him. Hopefully we'll be able to catch up person to person at some point. And Joe, if you're watching, cheers to you. And good luck to Phil. Phil is stepping in his shoes, and he seems to be doing a very good job over at Whiskey Wednesday. And other vloggers, I should say. The Scotch Test Dummies doing a lot of live reviews. Check that out. And from Canada, I'm Canadian from Winnipeg. Then we've got the Spirit Safe. I believe that is, I think he's English, possibly Scottish. Let me know, Rob. I think it's Rob. Let me know where you're from. Anyway, Spirit Safe over in Vancouver. And then in Toronto, we got Whiskey in the Six. And in Montreal, Malted in Montreal, Swami Suave. Check them out. Okay? All right. So this is the Select Cask, Glenfiddich Select Cask with a little bit of water added. And yes, I looked at the clock. I'm on the clock here, guys and ladies. A little bit more familiar Glenfiddich-esque notes coming through now. Still spicy. I wrote here it's less tart. Vanilla emerges. Okay, so that's the part of this Glenfiddich standard package. Yes. Really getting some vanilla going on now. A little bit of coffee. Very bright still. Some coffee. Maybe just a suggestion of leather coming through. Okay, on to the taste. Oh, we forgot the ad. We'll put that right here then. One more advertisement right there. Welcome back. On to the taste with Glenfiddich Select Cask. Cheers. Really didn't do much. The nose, yes. The palate, maybe adding simply a single drop of water may be a worthwhile venture. But the 2 or 3 drops that I added may have been too much for this. Well, what I wrote here, more sweet cream. So a sweet creaminess, like strawberry cream kind of a flavor. So there's more of that. Everything else kind of dissipated. And the finish, a little bit drier, a little bit more peach pit as opposed to the flesh. Okay, and the vanilla coffee ground is still there. One last taste. Well, the red wine casks here are certainly very active. So that's interesting. I wonder what kind of red wine that was. That would have been cool to find out. Okay, well, let's get on to the scoring for this. Now, I like it. Do I like it as much as the 12? Well, it's different. There's some interesting things here, especially in the nose. The finish is a little bit changed up from the typical Glenfiddich finish. And neat, yes, you get some of this sangria, lemon meringue-esque flavors going on, which is nice. But what I found problematic with this is just that it was just simply too soft. Okay, so the WhiskyWhistle Whisky score for Glenfiddich Select Cask is going to be 79 out of 100. That's the WhiskyWhistle Whisky score for Glenfiddich Select Cask, 40% ABV. And the nickname for this one is going to be Young Softy. Okay, now, given the price, is it worthwhile to buy? Absolutely, especially if you like Glenfiddich. If you are new to whiskey, this would be a good starting point given the fact that it is very soft. Okay, so that would be a very good starter Glenfiddich. A little bit less expensive, I do believe, than the standard 12. Okay, a good introduction to Scotch whiskey on the whole. So what's with the 79? Well, just this softness. It's too soft. Okay, 42%, 42% would have been better, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. Yours may be different, okay? Anyway, thank you for tuning in. Again, my name is Mark, and you're watching Whiskey Whistle. Please subscribe. You can do that by clicking the link right down there in the corner, okay? And like the review, share it, and why not leave a comment, okay? And stay tuned for the next one, which will be the Reserve Cask. Take care now.